Business Lesson 6, Cultural Know-How, Book 5, Business English, Vocabulary, Part 1, page 48. An approach, to benefit, to conclude, reasoning, vital, persuasion, statistics, to influence. Article Part 1, page 49, Cultural Know-How. Learning about a country's culture can help you secure good working relations on your travels. 1. Do you arrive 10 minutes early for an important business meeting in Rio, or 10 minutes late in Amsterdam? In Moscow, is it a good idea to give ground at an early stage of the negotiations? And in Istanbul, should you offer to go Dutch with the host on the restaurant bill? 2. Mastering local etiquette can be more valuable than learning the language because so much of the world does business in English, or a form of English. Beware that an English word or phrase doesn't always mean the same thing abroad, warns Michael Bennett, who sells security systems in Southeast Asia. In Japan and Singapore, people feel that no is an impolite word, and will sometimes say yes to avoid causing offense. They really mean I understand what you're saying, not I agree. I'm told that in Indonesia there are 12 words for yes that mean precisely the opposite. 3. Even the movement of your head can be open to misinterpretation. Publisher Robin 2K has had difficulties in Athens. The Greeks traditionally use an upward nod of the head to say no, and a tilt of the head from side to side to mean yes. I was ready for that, but didn't realize the younger generation has learned to do it our way. Confusion all around. If in doubt, keep still. 4. The issue of punctuality is almost as complicated. Oil company executive Malcolm Thorburn deliberately turns up a few minutes late for meetings in Brazil, because Brazilians believe latecomers are more likely to be commercially successful than people who arrive early. They're impressed by people who are relaxed enough not to worry about the clock. The Italians take a similar attitude. They believe that arriving late shows who is the boss. However, don't risk that in the Netherlands. The Dutch frown upon lateness, warns film finance agent James Hindle. They believe that people who can't use their time wisely cannot be trusted. 5. Hindle has also experienced the ceremony of exchanging business cards in Japan. The business card is seen as representing the individual, so the whole affair has to be treated with respect. You must accept your client's card with both hands, perhaps admiring it, and then place it carefully in your card holder. 6. The social side of Japanese commerce can also unnerve the Western visitor, who might have to go to a karaoke bar and sing. Many Japanese businessmen like to conclude business by performing their favorite song in a karaoke bar, says management trainer Nicole Waden. You're expected to follow suit. 7. In Russia, the ritual of the business meeting is more theatrical skill. I've seen temper tantrums, sudden walkouts, table thumping, and so on. But it's all part of the fun, says Michael Bennett. And they admire you more if you stick to your guns. Seeking a compromise early is seen as a sign of weakness. 8. In almost every business community around the world, the host pays for the meal. Malcolm Thorburn was wined and dined in Istanbul, and all went well until he insisted on paying his share. It caused real embarrassment, he recalls. In Turkey, the idea of sharing a bill is quite alien. The best policy is to thank your host and return the compliment at the first opportunity. 9. Insurance underwriter Toni Morrison caused dinnertime embarrassment in Mexico 5 years ago. I was working late with a client, and midway through the evening I felt so hungry I suggested we carry on working at a nearby restaurant. The client thought this was a sign I had a romantic interest in him. When I realized he'd got the wrong idea, I started to laugh, which made things even worse. The only way of getting out of it was to enable him to save face, so I accepted all the blame for the misunderstanding. Study Skills, Part 1, page 50. A Guide to Business Cultures Around the World. Japan. In Japan, karaoke is a popular way to relax after work with colleagues. United States. In the United States, introduce yourself with a firm, not a flimsy handshake. Brazil. Brazilian meals are long, but business is only handled afterward, over coffee. Leadership and decision-making. All levels within a group are consulted before a decision is reached, a practice known as nemawashi. Ringisho, or universal consensus, is then sought to arrive at decisions. Japanese managers like to understand the thought process behind proposals. This may cause delays in decision-making, but managers are quick to implement solutions. Managers rarely give direct orders, and instead indirectly suggest what is needed. Courtesy for the other person guides all dealings. Managers deliberate carefully and avoid taking risks in their statements and actions, meaning even routine issues may be subject to deep discussion. Meetings. Appointments are required and should be made in advance via telephone. Punctuality is important. In meetings, the most senior Japanese person in the room sits at the head of the table, with everyone else seated in descending rank towards the door. Always bring a credentials package about your company, including articles and client testimonials, and a small gift to present to the most senior person at the end of the meeting. Attire. Men should wear dark conservative business suits. Women should also dress conservatively. Business cards. Business cards are exchanged with great ceremony in Japan. They are given and received with 2 hands and a slight bow. You should read cards very closely after receiving them to show respect. If in a meeting, arrange the cards on the table in front of you to mirror how people are seated. When the meeting is over, place them in a card case or portfolio. Leadership and decision-making. In Brazilian business, teams are bound together by strong leaders. Managers consult with key stakeholders before making decisions, and team meetings are scheduled to share orders and instructions. Managers can appear autocratic, but are expected to demonstrate care towards subordinates. Meetings. Appointments are required and can be made on short notice, but it's best to make them 2-3 weeks in advance. In Sao Paulo and Brasilia, it's important to arrive on time for meetings, but in Rio de Janeiro and other cities, arriving a few minutes late is acceptable. Meetings are generally informal, and interruptions during presentations or discussions are common. Try to avoid confrontation. Attire. Brazilians pride themselves on dressing well. Men should wear conservative, dark business suits. 3-piece suits typically indicate that someone is an executive. Women usually wear suits or dresses that are elegant and traditionally feminine with high-quality accessories. Manicures are common. Business cards. Business cards are exchanged during introductions. Have your cards translated into Portuguese on one side, and present the Portuguese side to the recipient. Leadership and decision-making. American managers are expected to lead in a way that generates overall team confidence, and leaders who generate good results are particularly admired. Workers don't like autocratic leadership styles. Instead, inspirational styles win followers. Socializing. Like many other aspects of American life, business entertaining and socializing is often informal. Americans tend to eat early, with lunch around noon and dinner at 6 p.m. Heavy or enthusiastic drinking is frowned upon among Americans but tolerated in visitors. Americans are quick to invite you to their homes. Arrive on time and think about leaving by 10 p.m. to be polite. Gifting. Wine and flowers are very common gifts. Flowers are more appropriate if you're visiting someone's home. White roses, however, are associated with death and funerals. Meetings. Punctuality is important, so always arrive on time. Expect very little small talk before getting down to business. If an agenda is in place, it's often followed. Business is conducted rapidly. A popular saying here is, time is money. Meetings are for making decisions. Attire. People in the East generally dress more formally, and Westerners more casually. Dress codes can vary widely across companies, from business suits to more casual wear. Even so, executives usually dress formally, meaning business suits for both men and women. For initial meetings, conservative dress is always in good taste. Role Play, Part 1, page 52. The ability to persuade other people is a vital business skill that will get you the support you need to go forward with your ideas. The art of persuasion is not universal. Different cultures can have different preferences for styles of persuasion. Choosing the right approach could make all the difference to the success of your presentation. Let's imagine you sell chairs that can help people with back problems. Tomorrow, you've got a presentation where you're going to persuade the managers of a large company to buy your chairs for all their employees. How would you do it? Presentation A. You start with the practicalities and go straight to real-life examples. You present some case studies of people who developed back pain from sitting in uncomfortable chairs at work and were no longer able to come to work. You show how they and their companies benefited from buying your chair. Using those examples, you apply this to your audience, and you tell them that because your chair helped your previous clients and saved their company money, it will help your audience too. You conclude that they should buy your chair. Presentation B. You start with a theory, the theory that your chair can save the company money. You use research and statistics to support your argument, showing how employees' back problems cost the company money and explaining how your chair can solve those problems. You take listeners through the process of how you arrived at your conclusions, and you finish with the recommendation that they buy your chair. So, which presentation style do you prefer? If you chose presentation A, then you prefer inductive reasoning. You go to real-life examples, rather than theory, to persuade people of your message. If you chose presentation B, then you prefer deductive reasoning. You start with the theory before the practical situation. You persuade people by taking them through how you arrive at your conclusions. The culture map suggests that Anglo-Saxon cultures like the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK prefer an inductive style of reasoning, while it connects deductive reasoning to countries like Italy, France, Spain, and Russia. Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and Sweden fall in the middle of the two. It is important to remember that your preferred influencing style might not be the same as your audience's preferred style. For best results, try to find out as much as possible about your audience and get to know their preferences. If possible, ask an insider, someone who knows the culture and company you're dealing with well, for more information about how they do things. If you're not sure whether to choose an inductive or deductive approach, do both. Explain the theory and give an example at the same time. Finally, be ready to respond quickly to the audience's reaction and try a different way of doing things if what you planned doesn't seem to be working.
Hey, thanks for listening. We hope that you enjoyed another lesson of Uncle Sam's American English. These audios are synced with our 4-book series. Contact one of our professors or join our online course by visiting our Facebook page, Uncle Sam's International.